Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Preco, President and Founder of Atom Software, and it's my pleasure to present the Summer Release 2024. So we've been working very hard to get this to you as soon as possible because we know these enhancements are going to make your office run quite a bit smoother. They're great additions to the big change that we did this past fall. To begin, everyone should have an outline in front of them, and you can find this up in your help menu inside of Atom if you don't already have it. We have 12 pages of changes, and so let's get started here. So the miscellaneous, we're adding new screen helps daily to try to make your life easier so you understand this, the changes, the big changes we made this past fall. It's just a lot of updates we have to do. So bear with us as we continue to add new training videos and field descriptions to the new software application. Also here, another bullet, we have the help menu alert notification, what that is. So if we send out a notification that we feel is important that everyone should read, we'll go ahead and we can now make your help menu up here button, the help link, it'll start flashing like a heartbeat. And as soon as you go into it, read the notification, it'll stop. But that's just an alert to tell you that there's something important that you should read. So we won't do it very often, but when we do, you'll have to click on it to have that stop flashing at you. Now moving down here, the lobby information page, sometimes we call that the lobby tracker. For those that use maybe a check-in screen in their lobby, and then you also have a screen sitting up there on top tracking people as they come through, or it can also be used if you're checking people in online. It doesn't actually have to be there, it don't have to be physically in your office. We've made some improvements to this. So let me pull that up here. So this is a lobby information page. So we have some people in here. We've added, I believe we added it this year, maybe it was last year. So this is the appointment type. So they might be by phone, they might be online, they may be in person, or they could be a walk-in. So this is just a way of tracking, managing as people are checking in. Sometimes the appointment types get confused, I guess, and aren't correct. So now you can change the appointment type inside the client file. So if somebody checks in and it says it's an online, but they're actually physically in your office, and you want to make sure your preparers know that, you can now go inside the client file, and if you just change the appointment type in the account information section of the file, it'll automatically change on the screen here. On the walk-in, sometimes your clients will check in, and this could be if they're using the check-in screen most likely, and they're a brand new client, and because we may have captured their last four of their social, they may get checked in and default to a walk-in when actually they have an appointment. So again, to try to correct this on your lobby screen, now you can actually link from the appointment calendar to that new client, and it'll then treat them as an appointment now, as opposed to a walk-in. So again, if you're using this screen, those should be helpful tools, and I'm going to cover it a little bit more once I get inside the client file to explain it a little bit better on how you can change that. But this was helpful for us in our tax office because we do use this screen. Okay, let me go back here to the, now we're going to go into the prospect portal. If you guys are using this, and I definitely recommend using it on your website as opposed to using email for your prospects to contact you. We used to have a CAPTCHA down here where they had to enter, I think, 4 or 5 characters to prove that they weren't a robot. Now when they come in here, all they do is just check this box, and so that'll be easier for your prospects, and then you won't get robots sending you messages. It'll be actually a real person, but they just check the box like this, and then it verifies them. Let's see here, scrolling down the client portal. And let me pull that up real quick. So now you can always, there's instructions. If you come here to where's my refund, we had instructions where the client would actually have to expand these. Now you can actually control it where you can force the instructions to display. So that's all done in admin in the client portal configuration. Get a copy of my invoice and receipt table. Go back to my menu here. And we have that under what's called make a payment, because you can customize these obviously. So we discovered, and you guys probably discovered too if you're using the portal, that the table was a little too wide for the mobile version. So now we've reduced it down to 3 columns, combined some things. So if I were to minimize this now, which would be like on the phone, they can now see the credit card and e-check payment. So before, or actually you guys during tax season, they had to actually scroll over to the right to see that. So that was difficult for some people. We didn't even think about it. And again, that's why we're pushing these changes through sooner than we normally would. We didn't want to do it during tax season, though some of them would have been helpful, but there were still bugs and we didn't want to disrupt anything in your tax office. So that's why we're pushing them through the early summer here, actually before summer. Get a copy of my tax return and documents table. Again, go back to my menu. That's under my documents. And these are now customizable. There were some hard-coded instructions. Now you can put whatever you'd like in there to make it make sense for your clients. Client uploads, when a client uploads a document to you, this is where they can see their documents. Now we have their documents will actually display at the top here, because if you notice when a client uploads a document to you, a year does not display because you don't know what year it is yet until you actually put it in the right account year. But they will all display at the top when they upload something, so it's easy for them to see what they just uploaded to you. Okay, moving on to page 2 of our outline. Continuing here in the client portal, request and schedule appointment page. No big change here. We just made a few. We've moved some of the fields around to make it more user-friendly for your clients. Upload documents page, come over here, upload my files. So, our tax office is similar to your tax office. So we found that our clients they're dragging and dropping, or they're browsing and they're grabbing several files at one time, and they think they're actually uploading the documents without hitting the upload button. So we're like, what can we do to solve this problem? So we're going to experiment here and see if this helps. So there's a little warning message for them to make sure they hit the upload button to make sure they complete the process. So once they come into this page, they just have to click anywhere and that disappears. Hopefully that's going to solve the problem. But we've experienced a little bit until your clients obviously get very familiar with the portal. They don't have an issue, but sometimes the newer ones do have issues. Another person brought it to my attention, this drop files here when they're doing things on their phone was getting in their way, and they weren't even seeing the upload button in their view. So now we've removed that because we don't really think people are dragging files from their phone. So you notice that is gone. Again, we're just trying to make things easier for your clients. So you guys give us feedback. We get feedbacks from our own clients to try to make things better. And we'll just keep continuing doing that as we learn more and more. Page 2 here, the home page. I'm going to go ahead and close this. We're all done with the portal. Minimize this, and I can close this out also. All right, now I'm on my home page inside of Adam. User overview. This was overview. We changed it to user overview because this is the user information. So we just changed the name here, no big deal. The messages, click on my internal messages here. If I go ahead and compose a message, we can now expand and collapse the text editor. I know you're saying probably what's the big deal about that. If you're actually on your phone, it does take up a lot of space, so you can collapse this, free up your space here. That's why we did it. Any place where you have the text editor, you can now expand and collapse that with that little arrow. Go back to your home page. Office inbox, this used to be called Office Communications. We found it was more fitting to be named Office Inbox because it is all, for the most part, all incoming communication from your client. Just like you have an email inbox, like with your Outlook or your Google, all of these are inboxes. All this communication coming in is all, as I said, coming in. So now we call it Office Inbox. Makes more sense. Filter messages. as you guys may know, in the last change, you can actually filter by user what the user sees. So if they want to see just client feedback, or some users want to look at document electronically signed, I created that so you could share the workload amongst your staff. So some people could do scheduling appointments, some could do e-signing. Some of these subjects are more difficult than others. What I found is that we might select this and then somehow it gets changed. So you can now control, once you select it by user, then now in admin, I can control if this button disappears. So if I were to go now to my home page and I did this for text, so I've made my selection as to what I'm logged in under myself, Mark, what my user is going to see on the home page. And now I then go into their user page and then I remove the filter button so it can't get changed. It's just another way of ensuring that the people you want to see the subject headings of the incoming messages, that's all they see and it doesn't get changed. Warning message added to remind you to assign notes. Go back to my home page here. And if I go to my portal, so if I want to assign this to somebody and I type a note, and at least in our office, some of our new employees were forgetting to assign it. So they typed a note, but then they forget to actually do the next step, which is to sign it over here. And then they hit, so if they go save, now we have a warning message saying, are you sure you don't want to assign to someone because you just entered a note? You could just hit OK and it'll bypass it, or you can go ahead and do it. So we haven't had this feature that long. We're not sure if it's going to annoy someone, so you guys can give us some feedback, but it is a protection for as your employees are learning the system, because if you don't get all your assigned tasks and they think they're assigning things to you, it could be, not very good customer service when the clients don't get contacted back. So that's what that's designed for, and I have that throughout the software. We'll cover that. Office events, event categories. Let me go to my home page, expand my office events. So obviously we have these event categories. Now, if we have anything that's past due today, and if I have these collapsed, I'm gonna get the little red alert. So it's indicating I have something either past due or due today. And so we have these badges here, but that's what that's for. Just if you have those collapsed, you can see there's something you should know about in there. Event due date. Highlight fields. If I go to I believe I have it in my to-do list, and I'm gonna filter just under Mark. So I have some due dates here. Now I'm just highlighting. So if it's past due, it's gonna highlight in purple. If it's due today, it's gonna highlight in yellow. If it's due now, it's actually gonna highlight in red. All right, going on to page 3 in the outline. Column sorting. You can now, I'm gonna expand this to all. You can now sort based on any column you'd like. So we used to have things hard coded, and the office events, depends on what office event you had, it would sort. Now you can control what columns sort. So I've picked in admin, you set this all up in admin, and I'm sorting based on days. So we definitely found this useful. Depends on, what the status is, the office event. You might want to sort on client's last name, you might want to sort on days, you might want to sort on scheduled appointments. So you get to choose what you want to sort on. That's all set up in admin. So I think that's going to be very helpful for you guys. Priority badge, I'm going to go back to my home page. So we've added the badge urgent. So as you know, you can set a priority level by going to my reviewer here. And if I scroll over, you add the column urgent. That's now we have it both beating like a heartbeat to get your attention. And that's all, if you go inside the file here, and it's also beating in here. We're going to talk about that later, but it's all right here under urgent. So if I take this off, I won't show up on my home page and it will stop beating too. So we had to add a lot of the heartbeat features inside of Atom to bring more attention to the important things to make sure that your employees don't miss them. Okay, going to search. Advanced search criteria right over here. This is something we overlooked. When we select a category, it was only searching on category 1, not both category 1 and category 2 inside the client file. Now if I save this, it'll look both for category 1 and 2. It's also going to give me a little red dot indicating my advanced search feature is turned on or active. Something's back there. We increased, if I do a search here, this was the last 10 of your searches. Now it's the last 50 of your searches are going to display. That should be, we found this to be very helpful in your recent searches. Search results. I'll go ahead and pull search for John Casey. The category here, it wasn't displaying both category 1 and 2. Now it's going to display both of them in the one column. Account year balance, we had both. We've had for years total balance and the account year balance. So we actually had two numbers here. Little confusing. We don't feel like we need that anymore because inside the client file, it explains very easily. If you have a total balance, it breaks it out by link clients, current year, and prior year. So now we just have one column display total balance. We just tried to reduce the size because, again, on the mobile version, you know, when it's very several columns in a table, it's, you know, you have to scroll over to the right more. So that's why the year, we renamed this. This is just year instead of year and business type. And we moved this over to the left to make it easier again on the mobile. We thought this is very important information, so we wanted to see it on the one screen. Moving on to page 4 of your outline, calendars up here in the appointments. Span and collapse feature added. So if I go ahead and let me click on appointment, open up the appointment box, I can now, you can always drag and drop, okay? Or I'm not drag and drop, but move this around so you could see the whole screen. Now we've added a little arrow here that's going to collapse the pop-up window, the side drawer, whichever you want to call it. And of course, you just click it again and expand it. We did this one, it's very nice to have right here as a desktop, but it's even better to do it on your phone. So if you're trying to book appointments, it was basically impossible to schedule an appointment because you couldn't see the screen. So now you can do that. Field layout changes, we did make some changes here, both from some of you guys making the request. Also in our office, we found the flow wasn't working very well, so we've made changes to the fields. Hopefully, we've been testing it for the last month and a half, and it seems this is the best flow we've found so far. I'm not going to go over every detail. You'll figure that out when you start scheduling appointments. Referral type requirement, you can now control this. So if you don't need the referral type to be in when you book new appointments, you can now shut this off so you don't have to put anything in here. Link appointment to a client, as I was talking about on that lobby tracker, lobby information screen. So if you get a client is checked in and they really had an appointment, but they're treated as a walk-in, now you can come in here, link it, and you can link it to that actual client that you just created as a new client, and now it'll show up as an appointment on the lobby information screen. That's for the most part probably the only reason you need that feature. Availability schedule. Again, nothing major. We just have the collapse here. So if you're actually doing this on your phone, you know, you can now see the whole schedule. Same way with the work schedule. Click here, and again, I got the expand and collapse. Okay. Going now to your phone over here, for those of you guys who are using our voice over IP phone system in Atom. Hopefully you guys are feeling the benefits of that. Very powerful. We definitely use it in our office. We've upgraded it, so it's now more secure, better reliability. And with that upgrade, it gave us this other new feature. Now, when you pull up on your computer, it's automatically going to detect what devices you have, what kind of mic you have, what kind of speaker you have. So I'm using the Jabra Pro, but my laptop also has speakers, so I could pick and choose what I want to use. So you might want to have you might want to have it ring in on your computer, but you actually want to talk on your headset. So prior to this, we had to use the Jabra headset if we wanted to actually hear it ring in without constantly just changing on our speaker. Now it's very easy. We can switch it over to the, just have it, the ring come in on your computer. So this should be helpful that you don't need an expensive headset anymore. But anyway, that comes along. It's kind of hidden here. You can just collapse it. Additional voice accents added for those of you that not just English. Now, you set up your phone system so the voice message displayed, you can select what voice accent you want. And if we don't have it here, just call Adam Support and we can help you set up even more. Moving on to page 5, reports. And actually, I can probably pull that up here because I'm not going to go into all the reports. We just made a few improvements to them. Page 5 right here. This is a brand new report, client's balance owed. The report we had before, it wasn't that strong of a report. This is going to show you exactly if any client owes you a balance, and you can quickly link to that client file. The other ones, we just I'm not going to go through all these. You can kind of see what we did. Basically just helped in filtering. Moving down here to the client file sidebar. So the major changes we've made, and I knew this going into the tax season, was inside the client file. That was a huge change, that you guys had to go through because you're so used to scrolling, and now you had to go with clicking on the sidebar. And obviously we saw there were some weaknesses and we wanted to make improvements. And now what you guys are going to experience when we push these changes through are pretty major, and they're going to really simplify things in your office. Because we know firsthand, because we experienced it in our tax office. So let's get started here. Going into a file, going to here to John Casey, and I want to go into 2023, I guess. A lot of changes to your sidebar. You're seeing lots of colors, and hopefully you're not overwhelmed. These work. These give you so much information at a glance that you never had in the old system. So I know more about my client within seconds than I ever could before. So right here at the top, we put categories in here to make it easier. So this is the client's name, usually the taxpayer if it's a tax client. This is the business type and the year, account year. Documents, communications, depends on what you guys are using here with Adam. And then other down at the bottom. So we just kind of broke it up to make it easier to see. Moving on to page 6. Now we made some changes to the names. So hopefully this doesn't cause any problems in your office, but we just found naming them differently made more sense. So last fall was a huge change for us. So, we'd made a lot of changes and we learned from them while we were actually going live during tax season. So dashboard, this used to be called the contact summary. Thought it made more sense to be called the dashboard. Name and address, that used to be called the contact information. Perm notes really didn't change, we just kind of shortened it. Appointments didn't change at all the name. Overview, that used to be called account information. Status, that was events. Balance, that was transactions. EF data name didn't change. Task notes. Retention, this was all years and it was actually down here. Now we moved it up here because we found, I don't know if you guys experienced it, but I saw more of my staff knowing how many years the client had been with us, and the client likes to hear that. So before it was kind of hidden inside the client file when we used the old version of Adam. Now we got it right up here because I think it's very important to know that in this case, the person's been with you 21 years. That's pretty impressive. Account docs here, and we're going to go over these a little bit more in detail as I go into it, but these are basically all the changes we made for the names. Now let's do something, okay, mobile version. Now I'm in enhancements. This is my dashboard. So I don't know how many people use the phone. I use the phone of Adam all the time. I go into it probably, I don't know, 5-10 times a day. It all depends on where I'm at It's usually the first thing I do when I get up in the morning to see what kind of messages I have. All right. So it wasn't very user friendly, especially this inside the client file. So now we made this change to it. So this is what you'll see now when you pop in here. It's just going to be the sidebar. So this is now very easy to see. I get a lot of information from the sidebar. And then when I go into something, if I want to go into like the status, which is still called all my office events, now I'll scroll down. My sidebar is now collapsed over here. From here, I can do whatever I'd like. And if I want to go back, then I'm just going to hit then I see where I want to go from there. But now it's more user-friendly. It's more functional than it was before. It was very hard. It was a split screen for those of you that actually went inside of a client file. The contact name category header up here. So now we've added the IDs. So if you're capturing IDs, now you're going to know right away, do I have an expired ID? This is a taxpayer, this is the spouse, this is their age. So I know it sounds simple, but it actually was a very huge change. The information you get, which we always had that information in the old version of Adam, it was just hidden. Now it's very easy, visible, so everybody can see it. If this is highlighted in red, that means now this in this case, the spouse is deceased. So that's how it's going to indicate that. So very important information to have. Name and address. These are your categories. For those of you guys who are using categories, we use the categories in our tax office to know, do we have the documents scanned in? Did they come from the office? Did the client upload them online? Just so we know where those documents, that's what we use categories for, but you could use it for different reasons, but now it's displayed right here, category 1 and category 2. Perm notes. Obviously you have the red alert icon. That means there's something behind there. We found in our office that wasn't enough. All right, our employees still weren't looking. So now we've added this feature. Check the box beat, I save it. So now this is going to be a heartbeat perm note. So when I go in this file, anybody goes in this file, that's going to show up and you can't miss that. All right, you really have no excuse to missing that. To remove that, I'm just going to uncheck the box and hit save, and that's gone. So these will go, obviously the perm note goes forward every year. So if there's something you need to do every year, that's a very good tool to use. Appointments, nothing changed there. Tax prep, this is again, the business type and the year. If I click on it, it's going to take me right to my account information section. That's where I house the business type and the year. Status, now it's going to display account for my events. So in this case, I have one open one and one total. If I were to go back to a prior year of John's, in this case, I have 4 events, 1's open and 4 total. And of course, it's going to display the actual current event, the last event open, basically is what it is. That was there before. Balance, used to be transaction, is going to show me I have 2 transactions, 1's open. Of course, this is a balance due, which we had before. And this is going to be the last payment method. Just helpful to know how the client normally pays. I click on this. And again, I have 1 open, and that's why it shows 1 open here. We just found that the more information we could put on the sidebar, the better. That we know quickly pretty much everything about this client. The EF data, do not e-file for those of you using that are able to integrate with their tax software with Adam. This is helpful to know because normally you'll see acknowledgement code here. So if I don't see an acknowledgement code, I get nervous as to, oh my gosh, we didn't file this return. So I want to be alerted right away, why didn't we file this return? We've always had a box where you could check do not e-file. It was in the account information, but again, that was hidden. So you had to dig in and find that. Now it's going to actually be, we move that over to EF data section, and you check the box here, and you have to write your description as to why you didn't e-file it. But now everybody knows, so you don't have to worry that you missed something and it slipped through the cracks and you didn't e-file it. Task notes, again, this is going to display my count. So I have 1 open task. This is the phone message. Let me see, I think I have some other If I click on here, go down to my phone message, and I can also make this heartbeat. It's based on if it's urgent, and I save it. Now this is going to flash. So this is any task note. If I want this to flash inside the file, right here, that's how I do that. It's tied to the priority level. Now it's only going to do it for urgent to get that to flash. All right, retention, we talked about that, 21 years. Now this is actually linked. Before, when it was all years, the count was based on how many years you have recorded. So how many account years. This is actually now linked directly to the retention field, which is in your overview right here, retention. So if you're a new user to Atom, you want to have the retention show up, that's where you'd put it right here. It wouldn't be related to when I could click on retention. Now it's going to show me all my years, or all my, in this case, I have it set to just show me my open years. You see retention down here, but now you can put that in there. Documents, I have my account documents. Again, this is going to show me my document count, 1/4. That means I have one open document, total of 4. Perm documents, again, 1 open, total of 3. My calls, I'm going to go flip over to 2022. Oh, one more thing, my communications here. If I click on communications, because one thing I eliminated was, and I'm not sure if you guys used it or not, was communication summary. That was a summary of all your communications in one table. Now to get to that, if I click on communications, that's going to take me to my communication summary table, and of course I can flip. And this is all designed to find out how much time is your client taking from you by other means of communication other than maybe just in your office doing a tax return or online. It's like calls, emails, texts. Of course, you have to use all those tools in Atom to have this information. But again, that's what Atom's all about, is bringing everything in together. And so you have a more powerful tool as opposed to spreading it out amongst other applications. But you guys know that because you use Atom. Let me switch back over to 2022. I think this is very powerful. You can easily see, again, how much time is your client taking from you, and are you billing them appropriately? So 18 minutes here, 60 calls, 27 texts, 19 emails, 42 portals. If I have a little red dot, of course, that means I have some open portals in there. And it's all, set up by year. It's all based on date received, actually, where these numbers are coming from. But you can quickly go back, and the information was there before. It says we're bringing it more toward your employees' attention easily, and we're trying to make it as simple as possible for all your new employees that aren't familiar with Atom. We're trying to lay it out is, again, as simple as possible so you can use this information and help you in your office. I guess I'm on page 7 here. I'm going to make sure I don't miss anything. I think that's about it on the sidebar here. Basically, it's just a way of tracking. We kind of pulled information out from inside the client file and we moved it over to the sidebar. Moving on here to page 8. Now we're going to get into each one of the sections. So I'm going up to the dashboard here. So we've added a new card, client referrals. This is from one of our Atom users' requests. Easy to see how many referrals this client gives us, and then if there's any open, meaning if you guys are paying them for referring you people, or you're giving them something, or just as a matter of saying thank you. When you close that out, then this would disappear, but this is going to track how many referrals this person gives you. On the name and address here, we've added the color coding over here for the icons, make it easier for you. Account information, coming down here on the sidebar, it's called overview, but right here it's account information. We had over here a checkbox was do not e-file. We now moved that over to the EF data, thought it made more sense. Add new year, the side drawer. If I come up here and actions, add account year. all these side drawers where we're adding a new appointment, we're adding a new year, we're adding a new document. We made some not drastic changes, but changes to the fields that we felt, based on how we're using the software, based on feedback from you guys, we felt like we needed to change the flow of the order to make it more user friendly. So we've done that, and you'll see that through this outline here. We've made some changes here. And let's see here, this is add. Yeah, add new year. Okay, so if I hit add new year, and one major change is on creation of, sorry about this. Right down here on creation of office events, I'm not sure if this caused a problem in your office, but we had it set up just like this at our lobby checkbox, and we found our receptionist was unchecking this box, and then it was off our homepage. So that was a big problem in our office. Now you can control this so you don't even see this anymore. So you don't have to worry about that happening. Also, the ordinal, if you're using this, say, for bookkeeping, the ordinal now will be flow with however you have it set up inside your client file. Close this out. All right, now moving to page 9, my events right here. And again, we're talking about the sidebar or the side drawer. Now we've added the account user. I forgot, I don't think I mentioned this to you over here, which is very important. This overview right here, this is the account user, and this is a difficulty. So now it was always a pain for us during tax season. It's like, well, who worked on this tax return? I had to click on here to see. Now you can see it right here. So I'm sorry I didn't point that out. Very important. One other thing though right here is now you can actually set the account user when you're changing the event to make sure you have the right person. And it's like if you're moving it from the lobby into tax prep, it was kind of a pain. You had to go inside of the account information section to do that. Now you can do it from right here. One other change we made is, let me go in here, and I'm just going to remove some required fields, like right here, and I'm going to save this. And now when I go back to or if I hit add event, now I can easily change, if I'm going to switch this to say pending or review. So all these are required fields. So before, I had to go into each section and actually make those changes, and that was very difficult. And I'm sorry we couldn't push these changes to you quicker, but now you can do it from right here on the pop-up box. So I'm going to say this is Mark, and now my difficulty is here, and I could do my referral type and everything. And so now when I save it, it's all done in one step as opposed to having to go in and go into those sections and make those changes. So I think you guys are going to really like that, because we did. All right, what else do I have? A different tab, got that set up. Add and update buttons. I'm going to my events. We now have we always had the add and update button up at the top. Now it's at the bottom. So if you have a lot of events, especially if you're doing bookkeeping, that should be helpful to you. You do have a little setup you have to do there, but you see that on the outline. Alert notification added. Let's just say I'm sending this to reviewer, and I want to make sure, look at mileage report. Okay, and I hit beat, and then I hit save. And so now when my reviewer comes in here, they're going to see this flashing read me. So again, we're using that heartbeat feature to bring this more to everybody's attention. To get that off, I just hit the edit pencil, and I check the box, and then I save. And then that'll remove that. Okay, next we have a warning message added. Again, this is to try to help your new employees to make sure if they leave a note, if it should be assigned. So if I were to move this, say to additional help needed, if I were to leave a note, I hit save, I'm going to get a warning box pop up here You enter in a note, are you sure you don't want to assign this to someone? If I hit OK, it just overrides it. So we're going to wait for feedback, see if this is too annoying. I haven't felt it being a big problem yet. And I think it'll be so much more helpful for our newer people because, again, you don't want to overlook assigning a task to somebody. Transaction information. Switch back over to 23. Let me move to my transactions. And from here, let's see, my side drawer. Again, we made some field layout changes to make it more user-friendly. The add and the update button, we moved down here. So if you have a lot of transactions, that should be helpful for you. New credit card processor. We teamed up with another processor. So the reason we did that is because we can process using a terminal. So I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. So I'm inside of a client file here. I go into my transactions. Oh, and just log me out real quick. Sorry about that. Johnny Tester. Transactions. And so if you do decide you want to use a terminal, so we use the terminal in our tax office. So we didn't have to touch the credit card and the client could tap, they could use their phone to pay, and it was a cheaper rate because it's card present. Whereas when we do online, it's always card not present. So it's just it was a better experience for the client. It was quicker. It cut our processing time in half. So that is why we did it. And so now when we go to ePay, I hit pay with terminal. When I select my terminal, I can send it to any terminal I want. So if you have one credit card machine, you know, you only have one terminal, but once I set it one time, it defaults back. So everything else is the same. Everything else is exactly the same as how you've been processing online. So if you're interested in that, you know, using a terminal in your tax office to be what they call contactless, so you don't have to actually touch the card and your clients can pay how they want to, and you can get a better rate. Just contact us at Adam Support and we can help you out with that. But that's how it works with the terminal. Close that out. Let's see here. Task notes information. Going down here. The only change we have on that, again, field layout changes, nothing major. We do have a warning message here. So if I were to, again, if I hit, say I make a phone message, and this is where our receptionists, our new receptionists were doing this quite a bit. And then they would go ahead and say, you know, call, return client's call, and then they go to hit save and they forget to assign it to somebody. So now it's gonna have the warning box again. Going on to page 10, your account docs. Let's go in here to account documents. We made changes on this. This used to be at the top, so now it's changes. I think it might take you a second to get used to it, but you'll find out it does make more sense how we had it laid out. Other than that, we made file names if someone's uploading that. Usually it's your clients that upload with their file names and they have special characters and they have spacing. Now Adam can accept that. So before we were getting errors and you couldn't actually view the documents, now you can. Perm documents, nothing major there, I won't go to it. It's just, again, it's just the field layout changes when you add a permanent upload. Client calls, I'm gonna come down into my calls. I'm gonna go over to 22 because we have calls in 22. And right here, and I go to my phone contacts, we're having issues where the dashes weren't displaying for all the phone numbers. Now they do. Also, when you make a call, when you click on the thing, the link to populate here, I call, and then when I go back, before this side drawer was open all the time, I always had to close it. Now it just automatically closes, make it easier for you. Text message log, again, we just made nothing major. When you go to add, we just changed the field ordering to make it more user friendly for you. Same way with the email message side drawer and the text editor in the email. as we talked about, if you go to an email here and compose a message, that you can expand and collapse that. Again, if you're doing this on your phone, it's very helpful. Desktop doesn't really make a difference. Going on to page 11, your client portal log. Right over here, if I click on portals. Again, if I'm going to compose a message, we did change the layout. We do have something new here. I don't have it set up in my thing, but if you guys, and I don't know how many did it in the last, I think the last change we introduced, if you are going to do tips, ask tips from your clients. We actually, that's another thing you can do on the terminal, the credit card terminal. That was one other reason we did the credit card terminal, is it would ask for a tip. Okay, we didn't actually experiment with that. It took us a while to implement the terminal. We did do tips though on the portal. So our portal is set up. I think we collected in total probably about $1,500 extra dollars in tips from our preparers. You know, they were tipping, so that works, and you don't have to have actually confront the client at all. If you want to do tips, you can do it on this terminal, this new terminal we have. But we also introduced, you can send out a message to your client. So say if you do something free for them in the office, help them fill out a W-4, or help with tax planning, maybe you don't charge for that, but they're very appreciative. You can send them a message and say, hey, how did we do? We don't expect tips, but we are appreciated. Anyway, now they can do that to them, and you could send a predefined portal message out to them. And you just need this link right here, this tip selection link, as you create that in your predefined message, and they will be able to link. So if you're, there's probably very few of you that are interested in that. If you do, just call Adam support and we can walk you through it. But it has to be set up through a predefined client portal message for that to work. And you just put that dynamic link, tip selection link, in whatever message you have set, and it automatically would link off to the tip page. Again, the text editor, expand, collapse, we talked about that. And the prospect messages, again, if you reply to a prospect message and you're doing it on your phone, you can collapse the text editor. Moving on to page 12. I'm not going to go through all these. These are issues that were corrected. So last fall was the largest change we've ever done in Adam. Hopefully we don't have to do anything like that again, because that was pretty drastic. I'm glad we did it. I hope you guys are all glad, especially once I push these changes. We push these changes through to you. It's going to make what we did last year even better. Anyway, there were some issues that we found, or you guys found, and brought it to our attention. We fixed them. This is a list of them. I'm not going to go through them, but if you called something in and said, hey, did that get fixed? Like, I know there was an issue with retrieving voice messages using an iPhone. That's been fixed. That's on here. So that's basically what this is. You guys identified issues that need to be fixed, and we did our best to fix them. You know, you guys gave us feedback. I know you're giving us feedback over the summer. We encourage it. We want it. It's just going to make Adam better. You know, we again, we put a lot of feedback in here too to make changes, because we're using, you know, Adam just like you are. But I'm really happy with the new version of Adam, and with these changes, it's going to make your office run so much better. So I'm glad we can get these changes out to you as soon as we could in June, and have a great summer, and we'll probably be back in the fall doing more changes. So thanks again for your loyalty and support.